right, what's up, everybody? My name's Andrew. I go by Blocks on Melee and Discord and YouTube and everything. This is a new video for my matches 21 through 30. So 10 more matches in the books for Project Purple Steel. Kind of an ever-evolving Purple Steel deck that I'm working on with the support of the community, particularly the 20 Lore Discord. A lot of great players on there with a lot of great insights on this deck style. So this is the deck I'm working with right now after my first changes. For those of you who haven't watched before, basically I'm doing 20 matches at a time to get a good sample size before I make any changes, and I'm trying to make the changes really slight every 20 matches so I don't do anything too crazy. But this is the current iteration of the deck, so decent amount of lower curve here. Recently went up to a third Calhoun and a third Crab and a third Broom. I have some kind of interesting one-ofs like an extra rabbit for some card draw, a twin fire, and then a little bit of a removal package. I'm trying out 2 strength to see how I like the song removal package. Still on 4 friends for my card draw as well. So this is the current deck, so fairly stock, but just some interesting tweaks here and there. Want to go over these last 10 matches I had. So 5-5 session, far from amazing, of course, but again, a lot to learn from a lot of these. Played against Emerald Amethyst twice. Went 1-on-1. Just some observations. The Merfolk discard hurts really, really bad. Not as a really positive lore gain for EA, but having to take them out and then discard just really, really hurts. To lose gas, to feel like I'm faltering into the future turns is bad. So. I try to make sure I can either draw up from my 1-drops or get some friends to kind of counteract that. But that's a challenging, difficult card to play against. It makes me wish I had more like Fire the Cannons or Twin Fire or something to just burn it out instead of having to ditch cards all the time. Gazelle was great against me in the match that I lost against. One of the things about a Gazelle too is like it doesn't have to Gazelle a fox to kill a genie. Sometimes just gazelling a Merfolk to get 2 lore and be able to protect it and to get another 2 the next turn is pretty good. When I experimented with this deck in the past, I found Gazelle was fantastic in that it almost felt like a Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom when paired with a Merfolk, but you got a character out of it as well, being able to again just net you that 2 extra lore where normally your Merfolk would get banished by something. So I think that card's great and probably underplayed. Strength, Calhoun, Elsa were all MVPs. Loved being up to 3 Calhouns, particularly for this matchup, but just liked being up to 3 Calhouns anyways. Strength was always amazing to be able to tempo remove something and then play a character in the same turn. And Elsa naturally is just a very good card in that matchup. So those cards were kind of the highlights there. The green steel matches I played 3, went 2-1. The one I lost against was just, this deck can't beat the nuts right now. I'm not running Fire the Cannons, only have the 1 twin fire. So I got shift Diablo with Cove turn 2 games in a row, and that's just difficult to beat still. I will note though that there was some really interesting variants in these green steel decks I played against. The one I lost to did not look like they were playing the discard package or Prince John. It was just straight up removal, and then on the shift package with looked to be more Tinkerbells and Clarabelle. They were running at least 2 Grab Your Swords from what I saw. So this is another archetype that I played with a little bit where I feel like in this, with how fast the meta is, I feel like discard might be too slow. So going all in with green steel on the card draw, the steel removal, Ursula 3, and then some powerful shifts, particularly something like Clarabelle, which is good against Ruby Amethyst and drawing your hand up and everything. I really like the look of that deck. Other variants I played against were, I played against the Dwarven Mine version, which they were singing a really interesting song that was like moved to a location for free that they sang with Ursula one game that didn't work out very well. But the idea, I guess, was getting to move something to the mine to shoot something for free without having to pay for it. But was able to 2-0 that deck. And then I played an aggro variant of Green Steel, which had like Kit and Captain Hook and Smee. And Flynn Rider, which was an interesting deck, but I just don't think it had quite enough gas, but was able to 2-0 that one as well. Played Purple Steel twice, and just like we've observed over all the other matches, whoever has more cards, more genies, more Elsas, you're there winning those games and stuff. So that's kind of what I experienced. The match I lost too, I also experienced that lore spamming against me was quite good, where there was like some parity in the match, but they were ended up playing a Maleficent 1-drop as well, and there was like a match where again it was close, and then they were able to go like Smee, Maleficent, and then like I don't know what the other card they played, but they dropped like 5 extra lore on the board in a turn, and were able to just quest out and win the next turn. I couldn't challenge everything at all. So so interesting to see like kind of a mid-range build of Purple Steel that was also playing Maleficent one. They had Doc as well, so this reminded me of like, okay, this must be what kind of like the Zach Bivens style deck was that he just played yesterday in the LCCC. So interesting deck, but did notice that was good against me. Played against Ruby Sapphire once. Was able to fight through double B prep, double Sisu, just doing one thread at a time, trying to get quest out, a little bit of goat bounce, but I was able to get there and 2-0'd Ruby Sapphire. Pirate's Life, very good card. They almost, I almost lost one of these games where, luckily I think I got a little lucky and got like a goat bounce or drew a bounce when I needed it or something to get the last little bit of lore. But Pirate's Life knocking you back 2 is crazy good. I feel like, Ruby Sapphire is another deck that I like a lot. I feel like if I'm playing that, I almost want to run like 3 Pirate's Life because stabilizing isn't hard. Like, doing double ramp into, a Sisu shift or a B prep is kind of standard for what they do. But a lot of times I feel like they still lose because you've already gotten to like 16, 17, whatever. Being able to back you off 2 is a lot. 2 is a lot. And especially if you can get it back with Maui Shark or something. Or again, like I think even just playing 2 of those in a game as Ruby Sapphire after you stabilize, I think that should win a lot of games. So I feel like that's a card that could be played more in Ruby Sapphire. Now I played against a green yellow aggro deck, which absolutely murdered me. It was not close at all, and it was a really, really interesting deck that I wanted to kind of highlight specifically because it was quite interesting. So green yellow aggro, tons of 1 cost 2 questers, which they have 12 of. So Lilo, Duck, Daisy and Merfolk, of course, they were running Lilo and Piglet and Olivia Flaversham of all things. And then they had some utility cards in Go-Go, Ursula, and Rapunzel, of course, to draw up cards. So tons and tons of high lore questing gas. They were running the Pegasus shift line, and they were also running Tiana with bodyguards, which I've discovered and I've seen from the Amber Steel aggro deck that Tiana and bodyguards is great. Having to get through a bodyguard with the Tiana tax is crazy. And then trying to kill more than or banish one or more characters in a turn like that is just straight up not possible a lot. In the past, I fortunately had like removal to get rid of the Tiana, but Tiana plus bodyguards is a pretty strong line of defense against a whole bunch of aggressive questers. So that was very impressive. And then lore spamming plus the Pegasus shift worked really well against me. It was insane. Being able to drop like 8 lore worth of characters on the board and then shift quest and quest, like that was enough. Like there was a game that I lost where they did not quest until turn 5. They just unloaded on the board and then were able to shift Pegasus quest and quest. And I had like a great aggro draw from my deck as well, where I had like 1 drop, Smee, Lawrence, Genie, quest, turning sideways. They weren't interrupting me at all, and they were still able to just whack me out in 2 alpha strikes. That was just insane. And then there was nothing I could do against Tiana and bodyguard. And then when they were all evasive, it's like playing 1 Elsa when there's a Tiana on the board. It's just, that's not enough to hit up an evasive board. So really impressive deck. Huge props to that player. It was not close when I played these games. Again, like if my deck was built slightly differently, lower to the curve, and I had more fire the cannons or twin fires or whatever, maybe things would be different. But it was a challenging match that I got close a couple of games and then got go-goed out. It was just rough. So, I'm sure this deck has weaknesses. Like Ruby Sapphire should be able to just destroy a lot of this deck, I imagine, with 3 cost Sisu's shift, brawl, not to mention B prep or whatever. But so I'm sure this deck has its weaknesses, but it was very impressive to play against, and I had no answers for it whatsoever. Okay, kind of last bit here. So 10 more matches to go until my next changes. Just some of my impressions. I feel like I really want to play to the earlier turns. I feel behind so quick with this deck sometimes, despite having a fairly decent curve. But it still just feels kind of slow at times. Struggling, against other aggressive decks. Zeus feels really slow, so it can be maddening sometimes in the early turns. Like I want to be more elegant, more nimble in these early turns and be able to answer better. My changes from the first 20 matches, adding a Calhoun, trying out Lawrence, getting a second strength in there, have all felt good. I don't know if Lawrence is necessarily better than Little Tink in the Shift line, but Lawrence has felt great as a singer and as a sturdy body. The third Calhoun has been fantastic. Very happy to have the third Calhoun. Strength has been great every time I've seen it at the appropriate times, and and even times it's felt like not so great. At least I can ink it, or I don't think another card would have helped anyways at times. My reactive cards have not felt great recently in these matchups. Like Crab, Fox, Pete especially is still just very underwhelming at times. It can be okay, but if anything, I feel like it just delays the inevitable. I'm not really, Pete bouncing has not been that effective against a lot of these decks for me. Like I really just want board presence and tempo and answers. And Pete is none of those things. Again, it can be helpful against Ruby Sapphire and delaying a B prep, I suppose, or delaying a ramp at best, but it doesn't really feel like a 3-drop. Fox isn't really a 3-drop. It can be if I have something to quest in or a challenge into, but if I don't, it's like it's not really a 3-drop. And same thing with Crab. It's like if I'm challenging into something great, but and Bell as well, a reactive card it's felt fine. I didn't change my number of this card, but I started playing Lawrence in order to use it better. It's felt better, but it's also like a card where it's like anytime I play it on 5 and can't actually do something effective with it, it just feels really bad. So it's hard, but at least it's a 4/4 2-quester. So that I enjoy, the aggressive nature of it and the fact that it's a good body. I wanted to reiterate too, kind of why I'm doing this whole thing in the first place. And, my goal is I want to be a more competitive player. I want to have good results at events. And I want to continue progressing my skills in this game so I can play at the highest level possible. Even though there's players out there that are showing great deck lists for Purple Steel and posting good results, I don't want to just take somebody else's deck list and run it and think I can make judgments about it or whatever. Like I want to earn my bones. I want to earn my bad beats. I want to experience all these in-game things, so I have a good understanding of what cards matter and what cards don't. I mean, I think practicing and trying to understand these relationships between cards is what is going to make me a better player. So that's why I'm doing this. So even though it can be really easy to just pick up Bivens's deck from the LCCC or pick up JDRR's most recent deck on Discord, I can do that, but I'm not really learning anything. Like I'm not building my own knowledge or skills by just picking up somebody else's deck and thinking I can just play it, as good as they can. So I'm doing this to earn the knowledge it takes to really be able to play this deck well. I want to make my own adjustments and learn from them, see what I think, and then eventually, have my own build, have my own list that I feel works well for me. So I'm super grateful for all the players out there who also play Purple Steel, who are learning this deck and trying new things and coming up with cool tech. It's like I'm so grateful to get to be a part of that. And this is just my contribution. I'm going to share the things that I'm learning, the experiences I have with my matches as I make my own changes, and hopefully other people can either learn from it as well or come up with their own thoughts and ideas. But it's been a really fun project so far. But through these 10 matches, the MVP has been the strength. Like I want to go up on strengths. I only have 2 right now, but of all the changes, being able to have strength in a proactive way, either on the play or on the draw, feels like it's winning games. So love that card, and I'll probably go up on it after the next changes. But thank y'all for watching and listening. Please give me any feedback in the comments or on Discord or whatever. Really appreciate all the likes and watches and everything so far. So thank you all so much, and looking forward to posting the next video. So everyone have a great day and good games.